All right, guys, so I want to share with you guys a few lessons I learned from scaling my wholesale business to $300,000 per month. And it's not as glorious as you might think. So when you go from $150,000 per month, which in my opinion is the absolute golden zone of a wholesale real estate business, because you have a team of like 6 to 8, one acquisitions guy, one dispo, maybe a couple lead managers, and a couple people in marketing. And it's like just you and maybe a partner. And that's like the sweetest spot in your wholesale business, because for us, when we were there, I didn't work for shit, dude. I literally went and traveled around. You don't have to really work that much. I was working like 10 to 20 hours a week, networking with people, going to events, learning new tactics, all that kind of stuff. It's the sweetest spot of business. I want to share with you a couple of the things we messed up from when we went from $150,000 to $300,000 per month. These lessons are going to really relate down to you, even if you're just starting your business, if you're working at $50K per month or $100,000 per month, wherever you are. These lessons are huge. First mistake we really made was we didn't abide by our boy Abe Lincoln's quote. He was asked a question. And I'm sure, I don't know who asked it. It wasn't me, but it was someone. Might have been John Wilkes Booth. But he said, hey, man, if you had to cut down a tree, how would you do it? Gun to his head from John. He said, if I had to cut down a tree, I'd spend 7 hours sharpening my axe and 1 hour cutting the tree. And this is a very good quote, in my opinion. And it's not what we did. What we should do is you should sit there and you should plan out very precisely, very cautiously, and very conservatively what your plan is for growth. Like, hey, business is working perfectly fine right now. Everything's operating great. If we want to grow, let's get super clear, spend tons of time figuring out exactly what we want to do, and then spend a little bit of time doing it because we're super crystal clear. So what we did instead was every week we're like, oh, let's do this to grow our business. Let's do that. And we're kind of running around like chickens, with our heads cut off. And it was way too fast moving and doing a lot of the wrong things, doing all the wrong things actually, because we didn't really grow super quick from 150 to 300. It took us about 8 months to go and do that transition. And it was kind of just a pop after we did enough of the right things and screwed up enough of the wrong things to realize that, hey, we need to correct and do these right things to get there. But what we did was just do a bunch of random stuff. What we should have done is sat down and be all right, let's ask a ton of people we know. Let's go find the smartest guy in the room who's done exactly what we want to do, tell them our situation, and get a bunch of ideas of how we can do this. And then we should sit down, we should map out all the ideas, write out all the pros and cons for each one, and then how we would execute them exactly, and then spend 3 weeks planning exactly how we'd execute it, and then spend 1 week actually implementing it. If we would have done that, we would have moved substantially faster and made way less mistakes that cost us way more money in the long run. So a couple of examples of what this might be is one, it rolls right into the second lesson we learned, is to delegate cautiously. Well, what we tried to do was we tried to scale our business on an ROI that just wasn't quite good enough. So we were getting overall a 3.5 to a 4x ROI across the board because we were spending tons of money on TV ads. And we were also, and by tons, I mean 20, 25 grand. We were spending a good amount of money on SMS and some money on cold call, right? So we had a decent marketing budget of about, 35-ish grand a month to make 150. Pretty good. Actually, that's more than, it's a 4.5. So we were a little bit more than that, maybe 40K. Most of you guys have been watching my YouTube channel for quite a while now and probably know that I have an accelerator program that's made for people who want to pay to grow their business faster. And after working with over 150 clients in the last 2 years, what we've done is we've redone the entire product so that we've been able to streamline success for our clients. And this new streamlined product in the first 3 months has created 7 businesses to hit their first $100,000 per month. And so since we've helped over 150 clients scale their wholesale business to multiple 6 and multiple 7 figures per year, we've been able to really see what works. And we just redesigned our entire product to create a copy and paste system that our clients are using to scale their businesses extremely quickly. There's gonna be things like, getting KPIs installed, getting your sales process going, having the MLS strategy installed, hiring an admin, hiring a lead manager, how to onboard these people, and just having a copy and paste system. And then we also are gonna take you through getting your financials in order so you have a lot of clarity on what your business actually does. So you're not stressed on how you spend money and where the marketing money goes and when's it coming back and all that kind of stuff. We're going to take you through exactly how to hire a copy and paste strategy on how to hire your first acquisition manager, because I know that's the hardest part of business, is getting yourself out of that sales seat. So we take you through that, how to onboard that person, etc. How to do the same thing for Dispo, how to do the same thing for TC, whatever it may be. And then obviously there's plenty of other straight up copy and paste SOPs that you would get as part of the program. And these copy and paste SOPs will change the foundation and the infrastructure of your business forever. And basically the entire goal is to pair you guys with a one-on-one coach who actually does the business at a very high level, that they're able to help you implement these things perfectly in your business. That's going to make the difference for you being where you're at to where you want to be. And so I'll keep it brief, but if this is something that you are remotely interested in and how we would scale your company to $100,000 per month, allowing you to work less, then all you need to do is go down below this video, click the link below, fill out some brief info, and show up to that call. With that being said, we will hop right back into the video. And then we had a team. So, we were doing good good. We were around like a 50% margin. It's a pretty healthy business. But what we did wrong was we had these leaders. We did this right. At the beginning, we delegated a lot of the low level roles. Said, hey, marketing, this is your person. Like, you're responsible for marketing. Hey, lead management, you're the team lead for lead management. Hey, acquisitions, you're team lead for that, even though it's just you. Dispo, you're the team lead for that. It's just you, but you're responsible for all the outcomes. We like delegated that out to where we didn't have a lot of responsibilities other than just like helping our team leads, and they were paid well so that they would actually like be responsible. They're really good. They just didn't have any like leadership experience. And so what we did was we scaled on a foundation of really weak leaders, which looking back on it is like, it sucks because these people are great. I love them. And I remember telling my dad this, that said, there's no way we got it right the first time. Like, there's no way this is going to be the people that we go with to like $1 million a month. And now granted, like, I was completely right because I didn't know what the hell we're doing. And none of us did. We were just all guessing. But that intuition, that gut feeling, I should have done something about instead of just like, well, yeah, let's like naivety comes in. Like, let's just scale on these people who don't know what they're doing. And we don't know what we're doing either. Like, even though you read all the books and say, find the who's done what you want to do, and then like scale with them. Like, that's like what we should have done. So like what we should have done is we should have looked at our team and been like, hey, who needs to level up here in order for us to scale? And the first place it broke down was marketing, because marketing, when you scale, you get up to 60, 70, 80, I think $80,000 at the most was our spend per month, maybe like 85. When you get to that level of budget, if you're not watching every dollar, you're completely toast. Your ROI is going to drop. You're going to make the same amount of money and spend way more, which is exactly what happened to us for a while. We'd spent like 75 grand to make like 150 or 180. Like, that's not that cool. Yeah, you still make money, but it's not that cool. And so that went on for several months. And then we had to realize that we had to replace that person. We had to add a lot more support. And I started to become this person who was a transactional leader, as Dan Martell says. And basically what I do is on my calendar, every day I had meetings with like all my key reports who were like all the team leads. And I would just basically push their projects forward for them. So all I do is just grind and push everyone's projects forward. And I was just getting so torched. No one had an outcome that they were responsible for. I was responsible for all that. Even though they were responsible, they weren't capable of handling that responsibility. And so I had to handle it all. And it was literally impossible. And it literally just sucked the life out of me to where I was just like completely torched. I did that for like 6 months, and to turn it around and get everything fixed, like literally I had to fix the entire business, and it was crazy. And it was not what you want to do, but it was what had to be done with what we did. So we were like way behind the 8 ball. It finally fixed. We popped off. We had like a $400,000 month. It was dope. We made tons of money. And we're like, oh, it's fixed. It's better. Like we're great again, And then the market turned like later in the next year. And then we had the same crappy team who we'd leveled up enough to like manage where we were, because like I was holding it all together, or Gino was holding it all together. And then boom, we got hit with some more hard stuff. And then what happened was the team wasn't prepared. They weren't good enough. And we started losing lots of revenue. And that's just what happens. That's the reality of it. That's like literally our fault. It's literally our fault. And if we would have hired better leaders when we knew we should have, then like we maybe would have spent a little bit more upfront to scale and infrastructure, but we would have not had like nearly the struggle on the back end, right? We would not have struggled nearly as long. We would have made more money in the short term, more money in the long term. It would have been way better, right? Way better team. So nonetheless, delegate cautiously, because if you delegate to the wrong people and try to scale on top of it, it's going to fail. I actually know a handful of people who basically restarted their businesses, went back to square one because they did the exact same thing. And then when the market shifted a little bit, it just didn't work. So for us, going on to lesson number 3 is watch every dollar. And I know I mentioned this earlier with ROI and marketing spend and all that kind of stuff. I think that's super critical. But when you're doing this business, make sure you don't overextend yourself in the amount of cash you have in your bank account. What I mean by that is make sure you have more than 3 months of supply in your bank account. I like 6 months. I think it's a way better number, but 3 months minimum. If you go below that, you're in the danger zone. And if you have 1 bad month, 2 bad months, which is very possible if the market shifts a little bit, because we literally, when the market shifted in 2020, it was June 2022, I believe. When the market shifted, we had about 1.4 or $1.5 million, somewhere in there, of receivables. And it went down to zero because the market dropped about 10%. And our profit margin on each deal was about 10%. So imagine like what you think is about to happen. You're about to make over the next 60 days, 90 days, a little over $1 million. And then what happens is all of that goes away, and you have to scramble and get like $500,000 in price reductions just to lose 70K in a month. Like, that's not a cool place to be. And that's why I say watch every dollar, because you need to make sure you're stacking your reserves and you're stacking your personal reserves too. Like Hormozy says, take the chips off the table. Because one, if we did not have reserves, then we could have been in a lot of trouble. If we would have had like 30 days in the bank account, well, maybe we wouldn't be wholesaling. I don't know. Maybe we would have done something different. But like, it would have been a completely different game. But because we didn't have that situation, situation, we were completely fine and able to manage through, right? It sucked, but it was what it was. And you live to fight another day. And that's how I look at it. It's more about time in the game than it is like timing the game, right? It's like the same thing you guys all know. If you've been playing the game of wholesale for long enough, you've ripped a 100K deal or a 90K deal or an 80K deal because they just come around. Once you've been doing the game long enough, they come around. Maybe it starts at once a year, then it goes to once every 6 months, and it's once a quarter, then it's like every other month, then it's every month. Once you start do enough deals and you have enough leads, you have enough opportunity, it just keeps happening. So what I want you guys to do is to make sure you're following these 3 rules. Is one, if you're gonna plan, you're gonna try to scale, I want you guys to have the best plan ever. Like I have a 4-step process of getting good at anything you want and achieving the goal, any goal that you want. And to shed some light on it, it's basically have a goal, be super clear on it, know where you're at relative to that goal, be super clear on it. 3, build a plan that's going to bridge the gap, and then 4, execute that plan. Where most people mess up is they kind of think about 1 and 2, and myself included, is they kind of think about 1 and 2. They got the goal, then they're kind of clear on where they're relatively at because their KPIs are somewhat dialed in, but not super dialed in. And then the plan, it's like a 5-minute plan. Boom, plan, visionary. Oh, let's go. We're going to make it happen. And then the 4th thing is they spend all their time executing. What I think needs to happen, based on our brother Abe Lincoln, who thankful for John Wilkes Booth to make this happen for him. He asked him the great question of, if you had 8 hours to chop down a tree, how would you do it? And Abe gave us a great answer. But anyways, long story short, is you want to spend most of your time on that 3rd prong, on making the plan. Your goal, it's pretty easy for us to get clear on our goals, where we're at. You want to spend a little bit of time there, right? We got to get clear on the KPIs. What's the actual problems? We got to know what's the problems. I always ask, like, what's your obstacle from getting from where you are to where you want to go? And that's going to be what you build the plan around. That's where we need to spend all of our time, in my opinion, according to Abe, 7 out of 8 hours, right there on the plan. And what I did, and what I'm sure many of you guys do, and most people I know who are doing business, they don't spend that much time on the plan. They spend all their time. They actually spend 1 hour on the plan, 7 hours executing. And honestly, that's where I'm at right now. That's why this video is super impactful for me to make, because like I go through ebbs and flows where sometimes I'm like, I'm dialed. When I'm dialed, I'm spending 7 hours on my plan, and I'm executing very easily because I'm looking at who in my plan. I'm like, who do I need for this? What do I need to do? And what challenges, what obstacles am I solving for? Who do I need to solve those problems for me? And then boom, I'm super clear. All right, 1 hour. It's easy. It's fixed. It's like it's like a 10th of the time I spend doing anything is executing. And when you do it like that, you have the perfect plan. You don't even have to think when you execute. You're like, I have the perfect plan. I got to go down a list. Boom, 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 boom. I executed perfectly. It works first try. I don't have to question, is it going to work? Will it maybe work? It works first try. And it works perfectly. And that's the difference between a great company and a good company. Great companies make way more profit than good companies as well. Who do you want to be? Do you want to be good or do you want to be great? And the same thing if you read the book Good to Great by Jim Collins, is they talk about the level of execution and the level of leadership, and all that stuff is tied around execution, yada, yada, yada. If you look at any great person, like look at Hermosi, the way he's launching school. I guarantee you, if you saw that school ad come out where he's like, the school games, like you looked at it and you're like, dude, this guy's a master. It's because he spent almost all his time planning that. I just listened to a podcast. That's literally all they did. They planned it for months, and then they filmed it in like 10 seconds, and they posted it, and they built the back end, and that was it. And he had his team. That was literally it. It's why he looks like a master, is because he planned for 7 hours. So make sure you do that. That's going to change your life. It's going to make your business run way smoother instead of fast, because smooth is fast and fast is slow. And if you've played any martial arts sports like wrestling or done anything like sports wise, like, you know, if you're jerky trying to press, you know, let's say you're playing basketball and you're trying to go too hard towards the rim, you're going to fumble, you're going to drop the ball, you're going to miss it, or you're going to hit off the backboard way too hard, you're going to overshoot it, whatever it is. It's just the reality. Or you're too stiff and you can't move as fast as you need to go. And that's just how it is. So smooth is fast, and we want to play business smooth. And the way we do that is by planning for 7 hours of time. We sharpen that axe, and it's been 1 hour cutting down the tree with the who's, not the how's. Second thing, delegate cautiously. You got to delegate. You got to make sure you give the things that are like, you know, in your plan, you got to give those outcomes to other people. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, outcomes and all that kind of stuff, read the book Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. It talks about transformational leadership and transactional leadership. You want to be a transformational leader, which means you give someone an outcome and you ask them, what do you need from me in order to get there? And that's it. And then boom, they go and do it. They go figure it out. It's like, hey, I don't know how to do it. You go, that's your job. You go figure it out. That's transformational leadership. Not, hey dude, go do it this way because I said so and because I know how to do it. That's transactional leadership. And that's going to burn people out. It's micromanagement. And so delegate, but cautiously. What that means is you want to be a transformational leader, but only to the right people, the people who are of the caliber to actually do that. So an example of how you could basically do that today, an example of how I'm actually doing that right now, like I just had a conversation with someone, is one of our appointment setters was like, hey, can I get like more responsibility? Sure, dude. Here's one of the things we need to do in our business. We need to fix our emails, our email automation. Super easy. Not easy. Super simple strategy, but not easy to execute because it takes a ton of time. So basically I said, hey, dude, if in your free time, what you can do is like any calls that get booked in the short term, once you fix that, I'll give you like a small commission for it. and then you can go and fix it in your free time. You still got to hit your KPIs as an appointment setter, but go and fix the email thing and go and do that. And what that's doing is it's giving someone a test. So it's like an internal delegation, but it's like not like a high stakes thing. It's not like I'm saying, hey, dude, go take over marketing. You don't have any experience, but go take over marketing. It's like, hey, go take over this small thing that you can definitely do because you have the skills already from talking to people all the time and knowing what people want to hear and need to hear, and go write that into email and try to book appointments from there. Get calls on the calendar. That's a very easy one. Now, if you're going to delegate an entire department, it's the same type of thing, but you got to make sure that you got to take them through a very deep hiring process, which we don't have time for now, but basically just go for specifics. If you're trying to hire someone who's to take over your entire marketing department, make sure they've done it before, and then ask them like, what did you do at your last job? What was it when you started? What was it when you ended? And then specifically, what did you do? What were 3 things you did in order to make that transition happen? And then if they can't give you specifics, then they can't repeat it again. That's just the reality. So make sure you're bringing on people very, very cautiously. And I just saw this thing from Sam Altman this morning. He said the first 3 hires in your company are the most critical hires. I think he said Airbnb spent 5 months trying to hire their first employee. Basically, he said any of the companies he's seen that's made the wrong first couple hires has never been able to recover from it, which is super interesting to me. So hit it with a grain of salt. So delegate, but cautiously. Keep it cautious. Have a good plan. Make sure you vet that person out. And same thing, when you're going to hire someone, spend 7 hours figuring out who you need to hire, how you need to do it, what you want to see, and spend out 1 hour hiring that person. The third thing is watching every dollar. Is do a monthly review of your P&L. Like, there's no reason to not do a monthly P&L review. At the end of the day, do it. And look through every single expense, which a lot of you probably do, but there's some out there. And I would say I'm a culprit where looking at the P&L, I hate it because it's like annoying, it's boring, it doesn't make any sense to me. It does make sense to me, I get it, but it's just annoying and boring. Look at it, force yourself to do it every month, get in the habit of doing it. Wake up every morning, look at your bank account, do those things. Make sure you have 3 to 6 months minimum in your bank account at any point in time. Watch every dollar, look at your ROI, check your marketing, make sure you're not spending any, like look at every dollar you spend in your business on your P&L and say, what's the ROI I'm getting on this? Like, how much money is this making me back? And like do that for every expense you have, and eventually you'll make much better investments with your money. That's all you're doing, is you're investing your money to get huge ROIs so that you can run your business profitably. So with those 3 lessons, I hope that they helped you at some point. Obviously, one of the things we do is we help people scale their business to $100,000 per month while working less. If that's something that you guys want our help doing, then just click the link down below this video, book a call with my team. Just going to ask you a couple of brief questions. Just be honest, fill it out. It'll take you 5 seconds, and then show up at that call with our team. If not, if that's not something you want to do and you just enjoy these videos, I'm glad you were here. Appreciate you for being here, and we will see you guys next time.